Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is telling you my entire thoughts on the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas. So I do have the box set here. There is 8 books in this box set and I have slowly been making my way through these since December. We're now in March as I'm filming this, so it's been about 4 months and it's been a bit of a journey, I'm going to be honest with you. So yeah, anyway, let's get into the video. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is the reading order that I personally read them in. There are different reading orders to this series. There's quite a few different ones, I believe, but this is the one I personally decided to go with. I did start with Throne of Glass itself, and then I read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight and Heir of Fire. And then I went back to read The Assassin's Blade. I know you can start with Assassin's Blade, but like I say, this is just the order I personally decided to do it in. And then after Assassin's Blade, I then read Queen of Shadows. And then I did the tandem read of Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. And then I read Kingdom of Ash last. So that's the order I did it in. I personally really enjoyed that order. I had never read these books before at all. So I was going in as a new reader, and I think that order worked for me, to be honest. But yeah, like I say, I know different people read it in different orders, but I really liked that way, to be honest. So yeah, I'm going to now go through the books individually and tell you a bit about them and what I thought about them. So I'm going to do them in the order that I read them. So the first book that I read in this series was Throne of Glass. So this one follows Selena, who is a prisoner, and she gets called upon to participate in these trials at the castle to become the king's assassin. So she goes to take part in these trials. She goes up against all these different people from all these different walks of life. And we see her go through all these individual trials, and a few things happen along the way. Basically, she wins these trials. She becomes a king's assassin in this one. But during these trials, people start dying mysteriously, and she has to get to the bottom of that. And yeah, that's basically what happens in this one. And it ends basically as she becomes the king's champion. There is a bit of romance in this between Selena and Kale, and Selena and Dorian at different points in the book. But yeah, that's basically it for this one. I then went on to Crown of Midnight, which again follows Selena and her journey as the new king's champion. We find out that the king is responsible for destroying the place she grew up in, so she wants to get some revenge, and she does that by not exactly being loyal to the crown. She goes to murder these people that the king wants murdered because that's her job. She's his assassin, and a lot of the time she lets them live. She just brings an heirloom back to show the king, so he thinks that she's murdering them, but she's actually not. So we see a lot of that. And in this one, Selena gets visited by one of her ancestors in spirit form, and she sends her on this task, and we find out that Selena is actually Fae. And in the part of the world that Selena is living in at the moment, Fae haven't been there for a while. They was banished, or they were all murdered because magic was banned. So Selena having magic puts her in danger, so Kale sends her away. And at the end of the book, we find out that Selena isn't actually Selena. She is actually Aelin Galantheus. I think that's how you say her surname. But she is the rightful heir to Terrasen. She's just been in disguise for years. So this one ends on quite a big cliffhanger. So this one was really good. We then went on to Heir of Fire, which is Selena doing a bit of training and meeting Rowan, who becomes quite a big character in the rest of the series. We also spend more time with her figuring out her life as Aelin rather than Selena, and what that means for her now. And this one sends her on a bit of a journey, to be honest. There's a lot of character development in this book. We also meet more characters that are prominent throughout the rest of the series, and the books start getting a bit thicker at this point. This is as I started getting into it a bit more. I did struggle with the first couple. I just found it a bit hard to get into, if that makes sense. But I did start getting into the series a bit more from this point. I then read The Assassin's Blade, which is several short stories set before the first book, Throne of Glass. So this is like a flashback into Celaena's past, and a lot of things start to make sense after you read this one. A lot of things start to knit together. Things happen in this book that make you realise why she behaves the way she behaves and why she is the way she is. And I really enjoyed this one. I think this one was one of my favourites in the series. And again, we got introduced to some more characters. We got shown characters that Celaena was close to and that made her, like I say, the way she is. And we got shown some characters in Celaena's past that shaped her future, if that makes sense. But yeah, I really did enjoy this one. After The Assassin's Blade, I then went into Queen of Shadows, which again is her coming into her power and becoming Aelin rather than Celaena, forming new friendships and building alliances with people. And this one, again, we go on an adventure and there's a lot of character development, which I enjoyed. And she's working towards reclaiming her throne in this one. Then I did the tandem read of Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms. This book, Empire of Storms, follows Celaena and Rowan and Lysandra and Aiden and their group of people. Again, they're trying to reclaim their throne in Terrasen. They're trying to build alliances and fight for what's right and build connections with people. And it's really action-packed. Whereas Tower of Dawn follows Kael and Nesrin and a few other characters that we meet along the way. And this one is all about Kael healing after the last book, because he got hurt quite badly at the end of the last book, and it's all about his healing and his emotional healing, and there's a lot of character development for Kael in this one. I really enjoyed reading these as a tandem because I think they just evened each other out really well. Like I say, this one's really action-packed, this one's a bit more slow, so they just really complemented each other. I didn't know whether to read them as a tandem to start with, because you can read them separately, and together they make up quite a chunky book. So I was quite intimidated by that, but I'm so glad I read them as the tandem because I did really enjoy it that way. I flew through them and I just genuinely really enjoyed these. All the action was happening and I liked that. So that's what I've got to say on them ones. And then last but not least, we've got Kingdom of Ash, which is the last book in the series. And again, this one was a journey. There's a lot of war in this book. There's a lot of fighting for Aelin's throne back. At the end of Empire of Storms, again, we end on a massive cliffhanger and Aelin is taken away. So all her friends go on a mission to get her back in this book. So we see all of that. And again, a lot of character development for Aelin. There's a lot of conflict and we learn a lot in this book about how it's resolved and things like that. And it was just very action-packed. I did really enjoy this one. Again, it is 900 pages, which is a lot. But I managed to read this one in just under a week, I think. So it didn't take me long at all, considering how long it is. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. We do find out who is loyal to Aelin and who isn't in this book as well, which was quite interesting. It's just, like I say, really action-packed. At the end, she is back in Terrasen on her throne. So quite the happy ending for a long series. But yeah, that's Kingdom of Ash. So now what I'm going to do is show you these books in order from my least favourite to my most favourite of the series. So my least favourite book in this series, coming in at number 8, was Throne of Glass itself. Then number 7 was Heir of Fire. Then for number 6, it was Crown of Midnight. Then for number 5, it was Queen of Shadows. Then we're into the top 4 now. So for number 4 was Kingdom of Ash. My third favourite was The Assassin's Blade, which was the short stories and the prequel to Throne of Glass. In second place was Tower of Dawn, Chaol's healing story, which leaves me with first place and my favourite book in the series, which was Empire of Storms. This is my favourite book in the Throne of Glass series. It was really action-packed. We found a lot out about our characters. We gained some new characters and there was a lot of character development in this book. And it was just my favourite one, to be honest. There's not much else I can say. It was just my favourite book of the series. So, yeah. So that was the end of my Throne of Glass wrap up. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did enjoy it, please like, comment and subscribe underneath, and I will see you all again next week.